So I want to talk a little bit about belief and faith and how those work in a magical practice, and I believe by extension a religious practice because it's all connected. I mean, if you and you know so when it comes to religion, religious people will tell non-believers, "Oh, first you have to have faith, and then you will see and you'll understand and all that." And of course, a non-believer is like, "Well, that's kind of backwards. How can you do that, right?" And I've been a materialist atheist for a while, a rationalist, and I was like, "See, you can't. How can you choose? How can you change your belief? How can you choose belief? How can you have faith in something when there is no faith, and then that creates more faith or whatever?" But I'll tell you briefly about an experience that I had that kind of convinced me that there's something else going on. That was one of my first magical operations was in exploring. Well, I won't go into any real detail, but it was basically calling to spirits and summoning. It was summoning spirits really, and talking to them and drawing wisdom from them. And the way I approached it was one of make believe, of pretend. Okay, so you don't have to believe that they're real. Just envision it. And the result was profound. It was a profound experience, and I feel to this day that the things that I was told, the information that I received, or the interaction that I had, was something that was beyond something that I could have just imagined or just made up. That there was something deeper there, and it was deeply profound. So holy crap, that was scary. Better go turn that off. Hold on. Anyway, so how do you approach it? Anyway, I had this, and this was actually the experience I'm telling you about happened years ago, but I never really put it all together until fairly recently. And here's my thought about it: is that we can change our beliefs, at least temporarily, and we actually do it all the time, and it involves, like, it's like watching a movie. Like if you watch a movie, you suspend disbelief, and I really think that's the secret, that's the trick to it. You suspend disbelief, just like watching a movie. You make believe, you pretend, and when I thought of that, it's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, that's what we call it. We call it. I mean, think of the phrase "make believe." We're creating belief, right? And we are, in a sense. That's what's crazy, is that we are actually creating a belief temporarily when we make believe, when we pretend something is true, and that's more accurate than I ever believed, than I ever thought, because it turns out I've been like looking at the way the mind works, doing some research on that, and it's like our brain doesn't know the difference. Our brain can't tell the difference between what we experience in real life and what we imagine. So assuming that we imagine it with enough detail, enough sensory, like really get it. It's like, so that's why creative visualization works and all that. So yeah, I'm basically talking about visualization, but it's like you make believe. So you pretend that it's true. Pretend that whatever it is you're doing, whatever belief structure that you require for that to work is true. And maybe I got this idea from, because I have studied some chaos magic too, and I think you'll see a lot of what I do draws heavily from chaos magic. I don't consider myself a chaos magician because I think it's, anyway. But that's the secret. So you suspend disbelief. So you're not making any like long-term commitment to like what the truth is or anything like that. You're just setting that aside for a second, suspending disbelief, and imagining as if this were real, this were true. But magic's real, and okay, because it is real in a sense, and that's a topic for a whole nother conversation. But it's kind of what is imagined has a certain kind of reality, and that's a subject for another video, but because that's going way off on a tangent. But if you want magic to work, and you want to know how, it's like, how do I just believe something? Well, it's that simple. You suspend your disbelief and you make believe. You make believe.